All right, all right, all right. Welcome to this episode of Parables from the Pit, the Warrior Week podcast. Coming up pretty early fucking in the morning, man.
It is.
6 a.m. is your podcast. Usually we do this at night and then we go dinner. But on this special occasion, we had to do it pretty early in the morning, and so it is. And our guest this week is Dr. Todd Wendell from Warrior Week 56. Welcome to the studio, man.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
All right, what's going on? So we have some coffee. Usually we don't have some coffee, but now we have some coffee because it's early in the morning, and that's how we roll here at the Parables of the Pit. So, hey, man, talk to me how this whole thing came across your lap, and what was going on in your life, and how did you come across Warrior?
It was a time in my life that things were good, and I was always seeking something more, and it was a constant kind of soul search. My heart was like constantly yearning, and came across Warrior book, and jumped in.
Yeah.
And actually, we were just talking about hunting and stuff. I was actually off to a hunt, but I had like a 6-hour drive to one of the areas in Utah.
Okay.
And as you guys do so well, I'd upsold, and I got the audio version of it.
Yeah.
And literally just consumed that entire book on the road. It was just like, and going through, and I was like, I knew I needed more. And I knew I was like, this was what was settling in for me. And anyways, fast forward to you and I having a conversation, jumping into Warrior Week 50. But one of the conversations was that I remember it just echoes in my mind. You said, I get it, man. Everything's good, but good is not going to be good enough in the future. And it stuck in my heart because I knew that. I knew how it was showing up as a dad and as a husband was good, but it was good based on what society said was good.
Sure.
And I just knew there was something more.
Yes.
And I had to bail out of Warrior Week 50, have that conversation with you. And I said, but we had business shift. I lost like 2 staff and made a story around it, but came back in 56. And it was life-changing for sure.
So, I remember that conversation, man. Typically, dude, I had tons of conversation with all the guys that come in. But the thing is, I won't remember what the fuck I had for dinner last night. For some reason, I remember like key peak conversation typically towards the end. I don't know where the fuck it is, but I remember like conversation with guys coming in. That initial conversation, that initial thing that really puts it in the gear of the pursuing more about this thing that at that point you have no fucking idea what Warrior Week. It looks like this thing that's gonna change you, right? And you're like, why do I want to change anything about my life? And in your particular case, is like, dude, like everything is working.
Yeah,
everything is working. And then the question was really like, okay, if everything is working, what is assuring you that this is gonna continue work, right? Or it's gonna work even at levels that is better? Because you get older, your biology gets older, your relationships get more mature, and they get older in terms of when they started, right? They age. Your children, they definitely get older and they change, and the dynamic change happens in them. So we change at a certain rate as adults. They change times 20x, times 10x, emotionally, intelligently, intellectually, spiritually. They're a fucking sponge, right? And so when you sit there as a dad and as a husband, as a family man, and you're like, okay, things are good. Now the question becomes, is it good enough 6 months, a year from now? Because these kids, they're going to need more.
big
100%. And what's my blueprint and what's my strategy in order for me to become more? Because if I have a cup full of coffee right now and it's great, right about 20 minutes, I can guarantee you the cup is empty. And if I don't have a refill mechanism, well, guess what? There's not going to be any coffee to give to anyone for a while.
huge.
So that kind of moves you, and you make the move. You come in, and inside of that experience, I think Warrior 56 was a a very unique Warrior Week, and a very unique video also came out of it that had massive amount of impact on thousands of guys. The video that came out of Warrior Week 56 was titled "You," and the conversation that took place is something that resonates so much with everyone because the whole concept of that is like, like almost of your life you've been doing everybody else, but you never do you, right? And it's this thing that you do you type of thing that became like huge. And we played that video at multiple events. We played at Warrior Welt. We played at a few other events, even at WarriorCon. Like you got like almost 1,000 guys sitting in there, and they're watching this 8-9 minute video, and it's a conversation just about themselves, and it's the image of you guys going through it. So, all Warrior Weeks are unique, but that particular one became very popular in terms of the work and the images and the effort and what you guys gone through. What was your experience sitting in the fucking crowd watching that?
Yeah, other than tearing up, because there was a frequency that just resonated so high at that time. And I've heard a lot of coaches say this a lot, that there was a reflection. Oftentimes there's a reflection of a group that's coming in. And in that group, we talk about still to this day that there was more dad issues than any other group that had been in there. And me in particular, I didn't, but there was this aspect of putting on masks. Yeah. And I think that resonated across all of 56, is that we had surrendered ourselves, meaning that we literally lost, and I know for me personally, I lost myself. Yeah. And this was in life, and to be able to have that concept come back full circle and be about you and family, and it's those two components. My 3 kids, my queen, but me first. Right. I got to take care of me. Yeah. And for me, it's just been a journey of taking off mask after mask after mask after mask. Absolutely incredible.
When you talk about your practice and what you do, obviously you're a doctor, you're a healer, and inside of that, act of service is nothing new to you, right? You live by that operating system, which is act of service. And in your practice, in particular, is to readjust the tunnel that carries the light, right? Yeah. So, if the tunnel gets curvy, or if there's a blockage, or if there is, a dude that is causing issue inside of the fucking tunnel, the whole practice is, hey, let me create the flow where the light can actually circulate. And we're talking about it being a chiropractor. We're talking about the connection between the brain and the spine and the entire biology as we know it.
Absolutely.
How long you been in practice?
Going on 17 years now.
17. Yeah. Talk to me how did it started, man? Like, was it a calling that you have to be a chiropractor? Is it something you discovered? Is it something that, it was an incident or an event that once you came across is like, fuck, man, this is what I'm going to be?
Yeah. Good question. I graduated. My undergrad degree was in kinesiology. Yeah. And I always tout myself as being on the forefront of a lot of things. But I also lost my ass on a lot of things, because it was like before the time I was opening personal training studios, like boutique studios. I was trying to get stuff online. I actually had a website doing a bunch of nutritional counseling and setting up workouts, but it was too soon. And so nothing really kicked, and it just kept driving me. When I was working with clients, training clients and stuff, there was like this, I couldn't do more. I mean, I always wanted to do more for people. And I started going back and reading texts and going back to the nervous system controlled everything. Yeah. And I was like, well, if that system's not healthy, or if it's not connected, I mean, that could be crazy. And one of my clients that came in, he was a chiropractor down the way, And he goes, "You should go to chiropractic school. Everything you teach, everything you talk about." And I was like, "Okay, that makes some sense." So I dove in, and it was like my wife actually always wanted to go to chiropractic school, and I was just kind of, it was just never on my chart. I was very medically minded in sports injuries, like going that direction. And the more I started to dive into it, the more it was like, this makes sense. I can do this. I mean, if that nervous system's not working, I don't care what type of strengthening you can do. If there's a disconnect, there's a disconnect. And the more I started to dive into it, the more I started to get passionate about it, understanding it. And just like you said, I started reading some of the philosophy, and one of the founders was talking about chiropractic is nothing more to connect man the physical with man the spiritual. And I'm like, man, there's a higher connection here in this electrical system, in this body, that if you can help remove and allow that body to heal, that person can connect better. And I was like, there's no higher calling for me at that time than to do that.
You know, for years I was a fucking idiot, and meaning that when it came to chiropractor, this is up to Warrior Week 53. So Warrior Week up to Warrior 53, man. I was like, ah. So like we had a number of brothers inside of the Brotherhood at chiropractors, and they would come in, and in our Empire events, they would fucking adjust guys left and right. I'm like, what the fuck, man? Why are you getting a free adjustment, bro? Pay for it, man.
Yeah.
and so anyway, but they're like, hey, Coach Sam, you want him to adjust? I'm like, no, bro. So like I was a fucking idiot because I've always seen and perceived it as the like a mechanical aspect.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take your back and I'll adjust it. No, I don't want anybody fucking with my back. I don't want to be paralyzed. I don't want like one move to make me, So anyway, completely fucking uneducated, and as well as a slave to a fucking story. So Warrior Week 53 happens, and one of the guys comes in the game is a chiropractor. He also has his offices. It's Dr. Daniel Kimbley. He has his offices downstairs where we are. Obviously, Garrett has been going to the chiropractor like forever, right? And when we had our offices in Ladera Ranch, he was like, "Hey man, chiropractor twice a week. Bring my kids." I'm like, man, that's a waste of fucking time. and because I didn't know, right? And I was completely fucking hijacked by this massive story. And I'm sure there's a lot of guys right now listening to this that are dismissing the word chiropractor, or that had the same fucking story that I had, which is all like, I don't need anybody to manually adjust me. I'll fucking self-adjust, crack my back. My friend will crack my back. Or listen, man, like that you don't understand, you're a fucking ignorant to it, right? And so you'll make up all these stories. So anyway, if this is you and you're resonating with this, you just listen up, man, because this dude comes in, Garrett goes in, and I'm like, and Garrett started talking to me to say, hey man, chiropractor. I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. And I start going into it. But prior to that, it wasn't that conversation. Prior to that, I have hurt my ankle. And this was 2 years exactly from now, because 2 years from today, we did the Tough Mudder 24-hour race. Myself, Jesse Oil, Garrett, and Brandon Duncan, and the entire team. We had like the Warrior tent at World Toughest Mudder in Las Vegas, and I think my ankles was fucked, man. Like I shouldn't even be there. I did close to 25 miles or 30 miles with all the fucking penalties. And Garrett and Jesse did 50 miles, amazing, 24 hours. Like we had these moments where we're all fucked up, having soup in the tent, and then running and continuing, and it was almost like 6 months where I was dealing with the ankle pain, and the ankle pain happened during one of the training evolution that we had with the Navy SEALs that that took us for a beat down for a weekend. And one of the things that we did is that we carried these boats into the ocean, and we got our ass kicked like for 4 to 6 hours because we couldn't pass the waves. Once we passed the waves, we had to come back, and the waves would fucking like smack us back. And one of the stupidest fucking thing that I did in my life was we had these lifeboats, and these lifeboats have these kind of like straps on the sides, and it's really for you to hold on to, because the lifeboats that we had was like the rafting version. You know what I mean? It was like, because those typical actual boats the floating boats are like $10,000 to $12,000. The ones we had were like a $1,200 version from Amazon, and we like that's what they train us with, and they were just for rafting. So for rafting, you have these handles that you can hold on to, especially if you're in the back. So I'm sitting in the back, and my role is just the router, right? The guy that just, routes and everybody else pedaling. So I'm supposed to go left and right. And obviously I'm fucking that up because I'm like, they go fuck left, right. Okay. And then what I do is that I put both my feet in the side straps so I can stay stable, because the waves are fucking Eddie guys. And so we're on our way back. This wave hits us. The boat flips. So now I'm upside down, hanging from the boat with my in the water with my ankle line. It's like kind of an upside down pull-ups. Oh. And then there's another wave that comes in and kind of like takes the boat and pushes it forward. And like my body weight is pulling me down. So it's that stretch, this weird fucking stretch that happens.
Yeah.
So my ankle really gets like fucked, right? Pain, massive pain. And for the next 6 months, like, we don't know what the fuck it is because it got swollen a little bit, but it's like this, like, who the fuck has an ankle spring in the fucking water, man? Like, you can get that basketball, soccer. I get that, right? You twist it. It's like, what the fuck? Anyway, so for 6 months, this minor pain is there, and it's not going away. Every time I engage in soccer or any other activity, and I do the word tough mother with it. It was the biggest fucking mistake because that thing fucking blew up apart now. Man. And like, man, it's like fucking almost 9 months in this thing. Is it going to be permanent? So it's all fun. And then Jesse talks to me about this place called the Human Garage. It's a place that opened up here in California. I was like, hey man, you should go check this out. At that time, Jesse was in Seattle, and Jesse was like kind of traveling for that. I'm like, if he fucking travels for it, it's got to work. So, okay, I'll go. And I go in, and they sign me up for 6 months. Believe it or not, it's a group of chiro and massage. Mm-hmm. Believe it or not, for 6 months, every week, once a week, I would leave my house at 4:30 for an appointment that would be at 8. So to beat the traffic and shit like that in LA. Do that shit, come back, lose half a day almost, be back around 11:30, 12. That's a lot, right, for just going there. But this kept happening kind of automatically, right? As if I was drawn to it. I wasn't even realizing that it's happening, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And that led to getting in with Dr. Kimberly and, like, really staying committed with it. Until this day, I go twice a week. But it's kind of not me choosing. It's weird, man. Look, man, it's been 7 years. I play soccer every Sunday, right? And I wake up at 5, and I'm excited to go and come back, right? I'm just pulled towards it. And I haven't missed maybe one or twice because of travels. The same feeling is now showing up as visiting the chiropractor. And it's not like, it's not like I'm playing and it's fun. It's really a 5-minute visit. Mm-hmm. But on Mondays, I am aware of that. It's not something on my schedule. I don't even put it on my schedule, right? If you look at my schedule, everything is on the schedule. This thing is not on schedule, but my body is aware of it, right? There's this sense of awareness. There's this sense of we need to go there. There's this. So it 100% is biological and spiritual, and it's coming together, and it wants it because that's where the alignment happens with universe. The alignment happens with, this bigger connection that unified us in a field, right? If you visualize a unified field, and then we're all part of it, and if one or two is out of alignment, the signal of I am out of alignment is going to circulate inside of that unified field, right? I'm not saying it's going to disturb it. I'm not saying it's going to fuck it up, but it's going to signal its status, right?
Absolutely.
And there's a response that comes back, right? And sometimes the response is the human garage. Sometimes the response is the chiropractor that fucking literally underneath your office, like first floor. And the response is dude, Dr. Todd Wondell inside of our game, or so many other chiropractors that are around you. And like, at one point, you can't fucking deny it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you're like, okay, like I'm in the fucking field, man. And so that completely, and I'm sharing this in depth because this is important. There's a guy that's there that never had an experience with chiropractor, or, thinks that life sucks, or, physical issues, maybe, overweight, maybe, sicknesses. Not only my pain went away from my ankle, I also had a knee pain that got away. I had any kind of pain, I bring it up to my chiropractor before anybody else. And we kind of go after it. You know what I mean? And in the past, I was a guy that didn't feel shit. Meaning that my signals were all shut down. So it's not like, oh, you would adjust me and the next day I feel like, oh, I feel so much better and I sleep better. There's a lot of guys like that. But that wasn't me. I couldn't say that. And still not me. But what I've grown to know is that if there is pain and if I believe in this ecosystem, this unified field, and if I trust the process in the healer's hand, pain goes away. That's all I know. How it works and who made it, who makes it works, and all that stuff could be an interesting investigation. But quite frankly, I don't give a fuck because right now it's working for me, right? Yeah. Which made me believe in the practice. And I've always knew this that healers existed 10,000 years ago.
Absolutely.
Before the modern medicine kind of took the edge, and before like pharmaceutical kind of invented the sedative way of dealing with pain, yes. Right? Yes. And so it's like deep down inside, if we consider ourselves an old soul, hey man, we lived in the past, so we already know this. Mm-hmm. And we come back to recognizing that this practice is an ancient practice to heal, and it was another human to, and there's few other practices that comes with this that people find fucking spooky, but it's true. It's like energy therapy and light therapy and all that kind of stuff that kind of supports this mechanism. So the reason why I'm sharing this in depth, and this got a little bit long, is because there might be a guy out there listening to this and that never, ever, ever fucking considered the possibility of changing your biology and changing the way you think by going to a chiropractor for a period of time. And the chiropractor may be the guy that is next to you, right? Or the guy that you see every fucking day, or your coworkers that go to them. Like it's around you. Guaranteed it's around you. And so today I come to this foundation where truly, if you build a pyramid in terms of what we do to stay healthy, right? 100% without a fucking doubt, the bottom of the pyramid is the nervous system, right? And how you heal that nervous system. Then on top of that layer comes in, what we can call like nutrition, right? What we put in. Then on top of that comes in, physical activities, exercise, or whatever that. Then on top of that comes in all the hacks, if you want, the supplements, everything.
Yes.
So problem is everybody goes to the top of the pyramid and they start taking these supplements.
Yes.
They don't address the physical movement, the physical flow. Oh, sorry, I missed one. So we got the nervous system. On top, we got like sleep and kind of meditation, right? Like to suppress cortisol, to like just meditation overall, man, right?
That's awesome.
Then we got nutrition. Then we got physical activity and movement. And then we have all the hacks, right? At the top of the pyramid. So everybody goes to the top of the pyramid after the hacks, right? I'm going to take this pill. I'm going to take this supplement. I'm going to take these, which I'm not saying is shit, but I'm saying it's covering just a little bit of the surface.
Yeah.
Right? But the foundation of this is your nervous system. So if you don't even handle that, all the stuff that you do, it's kind of like ongoing work with ongoing struggles for results.
Absolutely.
So anyway, that's my self-discovery and self-education. I don't read any fucking book. I don't listen to any chiropractor. I just look back today in this conversation and I watch my path, what took place from a guy that was like, no, bro, to a guy that now truly sees that literally the body can heal itself and believes in that. Because if I don't believe in that, man, like then I'm not really believing in my biology, and that's a fucking problem.
Big time.
if I believe in more into medicines and pharmaceuticals, man-made created shit, then my biology, which was God created, then there's a fucking problem.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does. And I talk about this all the time, is that it is arrogant to think that man has a better solution than our innate or God-given ability to heal. And that's the basis for that.
Right.
But I was writing on this morning, and exactly what you said, we try to make it more complex, way more complex. And if you think about, like you're talking about that supplement, that's what it is. It's to supplement something in your life. It's not to be your core. And I told this to Garrett, and this resonates across the board with you as well. I was like, you guys are able to communicate the chiropractic message better than most chiropractors, and just in the simplicity, you will find the essence of life. It really is in the simplicity. We try to make it complex, and one of the things I teach practice members, I teach people all the time, is the concept of start here.
Yeah.
Start at the basics. Start at the simple level of that nervous system and your body's ability to heal. And then if that doesn't work, then you can level up. Then you can take it to the necessities of some of these other things like medicine and surgery.
My mom had pain at the bottom of her feet for a while, and so she came down here. I'm like, hey, man, okay, we're going to take you to, the chiropractor. And so she gets 1 or 2 treatment, and then she's like, oh, I don't know what he did, but now I have pain in my back. So then, before I would fucking freak out. I'm like, this fucking idiot. I'm gonna fucking, rip this guy's fucking face off. What did you fucking unadjust? What fucking thing in the back that you screwed?
Yeah.
But then I sit down with her, because now I know, right, from my place of, I'm not a doctor, but from my place of certainty, I said, look, he. Basically, what he does is that he frees the signals that happens in your spine. And in the past, these signals would not get to the area that needed to get. So why you're feeling pain is because originally the pain started somehow there, but then it was masked by something. So now it's kind of showing up there. And so when he does this kind of thing, these things show up. The pains show up that they were masked. But know that this is temporary, right? We are managing the true signals, not the false signals, right? So, it's my mom, right? So she's like listening, but at the same time she's hesitant. So I can see myself in her.
Yeah.
And then she went back to Canada. But if I would have 2-3 more weeks, she would continue to go, then she would see that the back pain now it's also gone, and suddenly the pain is no longer manifesting itself. So there is I learned with adjustment once I remember I had back, I would have a lower back, not a lower back, or maybe it was right out where your ass is, the muscle on top of that. I would have pain in there when I would do a lot of deadlift and repetitions, And we went there, and he kind of adjusted me, and what happened is, now this fucking pain was constant. I was like, hey, bro, before I was doing the deadlift and the pain was coming up. Now it's it's there. And then after a couple of days, now it's no longer there, right? Yeah. And now so there is this whole, I'm able to feel things now. Not feel, but I'm able to detect things now, right? As of before, yes, my awareness was not sharp enough. So I can sit here and manifest as somebody that went from 42 years of being an idiot inside of that conversation to somebody that says, well, dude, here's all I did, right? It's not that I closed my eyes and I believed like a dumbass. No, I just sharpened my awareness.
Yeah.
And twice a week when I go, it's like sharpening my pencil. It sharpens my awareness. And I'm more in tune and more in receiving mode than I ever was. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
It does.
Do you see that with your patients? Do you see that inside of your practice?
Yeah. And it's literally your body's ability to adapt in its environment becomes honed. And you resonate, and we know this to be true in science, you resonate at a higher frequency. I think that's what's amazing about Warrior. Like when you pulled up you resonate at a frequency, and that attracts.
Yeah.
But we run off this concept: garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah.
If we're taking in bad stimulus, or that stimulus is not connecting to our brain, what are we giving back out? We're giving garbage. I mean, if you read shit, you're going to actually communicate shit. Or, if you're taking in pornography, you're taking in alcohol, you're taking in bad nutrition, all these types of things, the nervous system is a reaction to what we surround ourselves in our environment to. And then, like you're saying, if we can remove some of these interference, if you can improve and heighten that awareness, the body starts to thrive and resonate at a higher frequency. We just know it to be true. It's a body electric. It's amazing.
It's crazy, but it brings you to a place when if you want to talk about the spirit and the soul, this thing inside of us, right? That kind of governs the body, that kind of governs our spirituality, that kind of governs our emotional intelligence and our thoughts, governs and witness it, and it's the command and control center. You want to call it the soul, whatever the fuck you want to call it. This thing exists inside of us, and the existence of this thing, the manifestation and its existence, it's through light and through electrical pulse, right? And if you look at electricity, it's never lost, right? It's never lost. It goes from point A to B, and you can have resistance that kind of takes away its power.
Yes.
You could have it in full current flow, and now you have a generator, right, that it's actually fueling. And then once it's like shut down, it doesn't go away. It literally gets transformed somewhere else.
Yes.
Right? So it goes somewhere else. It goes to something else. It goes to another conductor, and the conductor takes it to another conductor. It just, even if it goes inside of a resistance, it's preserved in there.
Yes.
It's not like it's fucking lost. And so if we think about that as we think about our body, and we think about our biology, and we think about our soul, then the spine and the brain is where the soul resides. And the frequency you talk about and the resonance that comes from that is what you're willing to put in and what comes out. But inside of that, it's like the majority of it is already in you. It's preserved.
Yes.
And if you have all these resistance blocks inside of you, then your power just kind of gets reserved in those resistance blocks, right?
Correct.
And you slowly remove them. Maybe there are thousands of them. Maybe there are millions of them.
Yes.
Maybe there's 2 of them. I don't know. But as you start removing them, then the current circulates at full capacity, right?
Absolutely.
And there are so many things that could create those resistance: trauma, drama, psychological issues, physical issues, which is usually a manifestation of emotions. Right before you, I had a Jeff, a medical doctor that was here, and we talked about ER. And he has seen 190,000 patients. Like, he's seen 190,000 people that came into the ER, right?
Wow.
Over the course of his career. And I asked him about, like typical, like, what is it, man? Is it gunshots? Is it accident, car accident? Is it like, what's the number one category that comes to you in ER, right? And he says, believe it or not, it's a pain that is manifested because of emotional distress. Yeah. So, there's so much emotional distress that a anthill becomes a fucking mountain, right? And they bring the mountain to ER. So I would think that would be a guy coming in with an eye, like, it says those cases are fucking rare, man. It's like 85%. He went to that. He says 85%, at least of my personal encounter, has all been emotionally. Like, it's an emotional wound that now it's manifesting itself in the biology. Yeah, isn't that fucking crazy?
Yeah, it is crazy.
Isn't that the scientific proof that the body can heal himself?
Yeah, absolutely. It's amazing.
It's like, okay, I get it. You get your arm cut. It's not an adjustment that's going to fix that, right?
No.
Modern medicine is created for that.
limitation, yeah.
But when you have all these skin diseases, all these things, these rashes, internal pains, and linked to a manifestation of emotion, anxiety, and stress,
Yeah.
so you're like, yeah, that is the proof that the body can heal itself.
Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing. I love talking about this stuff, and it just brings up. I had the pleasure to sit for 2-3 days and listen to Bruce Lipton. And
Oh yeah, I know
yeah,
that guy really well,
yeah.
man.
So but one of the things he walked us through, and this is 20 years ago, was the concept that we had it all wrong in biology. We think that the DNA is actually the thing that actually is creates.
Yes.
And he was actually, well, long story short, you just got to go read his stuff or
Oh, I
dive
know
in.
stuff really well.
Yeah, but he was able to prove that actually what changes our DNA is the cell membrane. And the
Yep.
cell membrane has receptors, and these receptors are connected somewhere else. And his concept, and he brings all this stuff to it, but it reminds me like there was two PBS specials that they did, one on schizophrenia and one on the frequencies of these cells. But literally, they swab a salivary gland of these patients, put it in a petri dish with a solution, and then move those miles away. And they have them under a camera, and you can see these salivary cells, and they like literally serve up a dish to these people, food. They don't get to eat it, but they get to smell it, they get to see it, they get to all these, and these salivary cells miles away start secreting saliva. And so his whole concept is that there is a frequency. Our bodies are nothing more than a television, a receptor for a frequency that's beyond us.
Yeah.
And this goes into, I mentioned this schizophrenia, but he was talking about how, and there's again a PBS special on how these people would manifest. And they would go from one personality to the next personality and literally manifest these scenarios. Like one girl, she was a 42-year-old female. Her eyes were bad. She had glasses, and then she would revert back to like a young toddler that would have to take the glasses off because her eyes would change. And he was talking about on this special that people literally had scars that would go away. When they manifest in different personalities. But yeah, you're exactly right. These are adaptations in our environment and manifesting here but above too.
It absolutely true. I mean, his book Biology of Belief is a must to read. And I was at his I was at a conference and he was a guest not too long ago. I think about 6 months ago, 5 months ago. And dude, he talked about exactly what you talk about, and he talked about this new concept. As this is pretty fucking cool. He says, like, consider that our memories are not actually in our head. Mm-hmm. Consider that our memories are in a unified field or in somewhere, and the reference to the memories is what travels from the signal from our brain to that. Kind of like if you know anything about computer programming, there's this thing called the pointers, right? Inside of computer program, and the pointers are, and this is old school fucking programming, and probably but the pointers are basically happening at the machine, almost at the machine language, which is a geo coordinates of the actual information inside of the memory. So you have actual information residing inside of a memory, inside of a procedure that you're writing. At one point, you will call upon the geo coordinates of a script that is written somewhere else, right? Mm-hmm. And the pointers kind of start pointing. Like basically, what I'm trying to say is like if you have a sheet of paper, and there's content on that sheet of paper that says there can be pointers that are pointing at the specific sections of those, and each specific section of those has either data, information, or an actual script that could execute further pointers to go at further sheets and grab information or execution. And now you have thousands of these pointers, right?
Yeah.
And they in programming, they refer to once you lose once a pointer is lost, or once a pointer is redirected to another location, then memory becomes available. Right? That space becomes available because there's nothing pointing to it.
Yep.
So if there's nothing pointing to it, then it's available for someone to point to it and rewrite, or whatever. But if it's something, so if you have something pointed at it, and if you repoint at what's pointing at it and you rewrite it, then you rewrite the information. But if you lose the reference to it, you kind of lost the data.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, this might be fucking complicated listening to this on the audio. It's like, what the fuck, man? These guys have smoked 6 a.m. in the fucking morning, man. I thought this was fucking parables from the pit. But anyway, you bring this shit now to our, and this is what he was talking about, right? You talk about our brains and our nervous system is the pointers.
Mm-hmm.
So they're gonna point to this memory that is kind of like shared between everyone. Like imagine like this huge sheet where all the shit is written on it, and we all have pointers to it, right?
Absolutely.
And then comes in the other. So that's his theory, right? It was pretty fucking scientific, which is memory resides outside of our brain, which makes total fucking sense.
Yep.
Because that's why you have deja vus. Okay, dude, why the fuck am I having deja vus? What is this concept? Then you can add spiritual aspects on top of it and say, our soul leaves the body to come back and continue to learn, right? So it's this process of never going away. Again, I'm not saying that's the case. I haven't had the chance to go and come back, or maybe I had. And I'm talking about that. I don't know. But what I'm saying is that this is truly what my belief system is that there's a soul inside of me, but this has been around for thousands of years.
Mm-hmm.
And in this time life, I'm this major pointer that points at the script of my life on that piece of memory, if we want on that unified, right? That's my script. And can I change it? Sure. Or maybe not. Like, we can say here, okay, once your destiny is written, you have to follow this script. Or you can say, I have the power to change it. Or you can say, maybe you're fucking writing as you go, right? Both three theories can come in play, both coexist at the same time, or be individually adopted.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of it, you're going to have to experience it, right? And there's no one, I believe, on this planet that can tell you that it's this or that, because they're still here.
Absolutely.
If we have this podcast in another dimension, then we can look back and say, you know what, bro? Yeah, it was that. But I'm putting it all together, right? This is where most of my effort has been, and I have to tell you that this has developed inside of me ever since I started investing in my chiropractor practice. And there is a merger, and I'm sure this is 100% true for you for past fucking 17 years. In fact, this is a fucking daily. There's a feeling inside of you that's very difficult to share, not because you don't want to, but you're just like, you don't know how the fuck it's going to be received. There's when you're a chiropractor, it's a blend, it's a merger of science and spirituality. The end.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And when you're a doctor, it's mainly science, although a lot of doctors are blending now to the. So this concept, this ways of thinking in the past, there was you either believe in fate, that this is how the world it's created. You either believe in science, and this is how the world is created. So if it's a religion, or if it's some kind of practice, your tool is fate. If it's science, your tool is experiment, right? By experiment. Or you can follow your philosophy, right? Or philosophers. Truly, in our modern day, 2019, the reality is the guy that is aware is a guy that has that sees the world, that sees life with a blend of these three ways: science, spirituality, and your own philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And I truly believe at the bottom of my heart, that's what chiropractor is. There's a science, there's a spirituality, and also there is, not all chiropractors are the same fucking thing. Like, some of them are like suck ass spiritually.
Yes.
And quite frankly, they're not going to have that impact. I mean, they're healing, but they don't know what the fuck. They haven't accessed their own power inside.
Yes.
So that's where the philosophy comes in, right? So you have that philosophy, you have that spiritual development, and you have that scientific development. You put all those three together, dude, now that's a fucking lethal force.
Yeah. Triple threat.
So how's this resonates with you and what I just said, like the blend of science and spirituality?
Oh, it's beautiful. We used to have spa days at in a chiropractic school. It was science, philosophy, and art blending all these
Oh,
things.
shit.
Yeah, so it was these concepts. This is actually where Bruce Lipton, would be brought in a scenario like that, and it was absolutely incredible. But what I resonate most with is, and I got to go back to Warrior Week. I had a spiritual disconnect because of, and I think most chiropractors and I think most people can resonate at a level that when you have a passion for helping people, you have a passion for, doing something greater than just you. I mean, I stepped into seminary school. I've been led by pastors. I've been duped by pastors, all these types of things. And I came into 56 with a spiritual disconnect. I knew there was God. I knew that there was a connection with God, but I had leaned on man to have that connection.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until 56 that I was able to shed all of that and be able to start to connect for me. It was my connection.
Yeah.
And it was such an eye-opening journey to shed all that shit that I had put on. I mean, even from a little kid, I remember being in a church and having a pastor, or what do we call him, a prophet. The church would bring in a prophet and speaking words over a little kid that was this like, just stayed with me for the longest time that I had to shed. And Warrior Week presented a avenue for me to release a lot of that shit, to be able to free the soul, so to speak, and free that frequency to be able to connect at a higher level.
So, life puts these characters in front of us, right? Some are there to guide us. It's beautiful. And then we are left as adults with these voices inside of our heads that are either the voices that try to manipulate us at one point, so we're kind of like protecting ourselves against them. And there's these other voices of people that try to help us, right? But it's their voice. It's voice of people. And it takes so much space that it doesn't kind of leave room for the voice. And these voices pretend to be the voice, and we kind of subscribe to that reality until a while. And then comes an experience like Warrior Week, where we truly, every single person has gone through Warrior Week, including myself, like truly shifts from information from God or about God to an encounter with God. And that's what the difference is. It's like, we don't look back and we say church and all these, religion organizations are bad. It's like we look back and say it's amazing how that served me to be aware and all that information. But the encounter doesn't require a fucking broker in between.
Yeah.
And anybody inside of any practice, any religion, any priest, any imam, any rabbi, any monk, or any other form of spiritual practicer would tell you the same. Would say, absolutely, right? And if you don't hear that, then it's because there's personal interest of a man in between.
Yes.
Right? And so you can subscribe to that, but it comes with a price. And that price is the price of disconnection. And it's going to have a fucking cost in your life, which is
big time.
This current that we talked about. Bro, you're not allowing it to flow. Like there's pieces of resistance put by man-made resistance inside of it. Like, and then once you remove that and you recognize that this is all of it, right? And the statement like "I am that I am" truly resonates from a scientific perspective as the flow of electricity and light, and you're like, dude, like I am on the path of enlightenment. I'm on the path of service. I'm on the path of knowing, not learning.
Yeah.
Like I know now, right? And that creates a level of certainty inside of you that attracts, that resonates. Like your wife is more attracted to that. Your children are, and they come to you for advice and consultation because of the attraction, right? Because it's so fucking easy to get advice from Tom, Dick, and Harry right now on the fucking phone. You and I, back in the days, man, like, dude, when shit happened, like, we had to go in the room and close the room. That was it. If you had a window, good luck. Like, yeah, that was nice. If you didn't have a window, it was like, okay, stare at the fucking wall, man,
Yep.
and suck it in. Now it's like the slightest argument if children are not really connected with you, they'll disconnect and they'll go search for connection somewhere else.
Yes, absolutely.
And
They'll
as
find it.
fathers, we have to be fucking aware of that. And that's why like practices such as chiropractic sharpens the awareness ultimately because of that. So if you're a guy sitting there and like you're hearing this thing and you want to know the why you should fucking give this a try and why you should sharpen your awareness, is because if you're not aware of it, then shit is happening to your kids that you're not fucking aware of it. And it doesn't matter how much fucking books you read about fucking parenting. You're reading somebody else's fucking advice. You're not truly listening to your own advice. You're not picking up on your own fucking intuition because you have all these pieces of fucking resistance inside of you. It shouldn't be somebody else telling you how you're going to raise your child or your children. Like, period. I have nothing against knowledge. I have nothing against acquiring knowledge, applying and testing some knowledge. Absolutely not. But you shouldn't go ask someone else and tell me what I should do because my son did this and my daughter did that. And they'll come back to you. It was like, oh, well, he needs to do this and that. Like, they'll give you a fucking protocol. Like, that's the point where you have to start becoming aware. Like, the protocol is in your hand because the gift was given to you. It wasn't given, like, your children were not given to them. They were given to you. So, I mean, like, it's kind of fucking contradictory. I'm sitting here, I'm like, think about a fucking priest. He's not allowed to have a kid, but yet he had all the fucking advices on children. Doesn't make any fucking sense. I don't want to bash any priest because they're holy mans, but, like, there's something that went wrong somewhere. If I'm going to hear anything about children, it's going to be from a father, like an actual father that has gone through the birth process, that has seen, like, dude, like, all the emotional, like, dude, if that emotion doesn't exist, then the advice doesn't make any fucking sense. It's common fucking sense. Unless in the past, as an old soul, you were a father, and now you are a father, you're a priest. Then I'll subscribe to that, okay? And then again, for a lot of people, that's hard to swallow. But that's the only explanation I can put behind it. That if you're providing wisdom, it's because you already know, right? And if you don't, then I should know. Like, I should know. I should exercise confidence and certainty that I know. And that's what attracts the kids. That's why they'll listen to you. It's not by fucking force. It's by this field that you create in your own house, right? And this field of attraction. So, I mean, I implement that at my house, and it's completely contradictory to any other, like, typical house. Like, kids go to bed really late. Why? Because I come home really late.
Yeah.
So why kids go to bed really late? Well, because, fuck, man, I don't want to not see them. In the past, 7 years ago, yeah, kids were in bed. I would come in and then, okay, I get an hour for me and it's cool. And next thing you know, it's 3 days you haven't seen anyone.
Yeah, been there.
I changed that. How do I change that? Well, who the fuck says kids have to go to bed early? Well, they're going to get a lack of sleep. No. And if they do, fuck it. I'd rather them get lack of sleep than get lack of me.
That's beautiful. I like that. That's
but I mean, I've made decisions like that. And I'm not saying that everybody is going to come and take that kind of extreme decisions. But I've made some changes because I didn't want to go with the flow. I would get mad all the time at my son when people would complain about him. Because the minute people open their mouth, I would assume that they're absolutely telling the truth without a fucking doubt.
Yeah.
And there's this poor kid that never gets, like, his voice expressed. And so we're in a place where, hey, man, I'm like, bro, I know you fuck up all the time. Like, I just know my son because he's like, But so as long as you tell me the truth, we're fine. There's going to be a consequence for sure. It's going to suck ass for sure. But you remain so much more powerful because you're not hiding anything. So, like, the analogy I have for him is if I come in your room and you have nothing to hide in this room and I know everything is everywhere, then how do you feel? He goes, great. But I said, okay, if you have something here that you hide, and if I come in this room, what is your feeling? He's 10. He's like, well, I'll be nervous. in case you find it, and you'll be like, how come you didn't tell me about this? And then you could be hurt, right? And so if you're hurt, that could hurt me. I'll go, exactly. So, like, what if I come in here and you have some shit that is already going to get me mad? He goes, yeah, I won't hide it. I say, okay, then you deal with my madness. I get it. And then at the end, we'll both decide whether we keep it in the room or not. And sometimes it's gonna be like, hey man, it's gotta go out. And you're gonna resist that. You're not gonna want that. And that's okay. Expect those days to come. Right? But most of the time you get to keep your shit. And so that's the conversations we have, right? And can I become a slave to parenting books and all this kind of stuff? Can I become better by reading? Yes, I can. I won't become a slave to it, but I can become better by reading. But bro, do I really have time to just I'd rather spend that hour with my son than fucking read about my son.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to compound on that, and this is where I came from for the longest time, again before Warrior Week. But somebody's listening to this right now is probably chewing on all sorts of stuff. But why will you not let yourself be connected? And that is the pinnacle for me. Where I came from, it was like I would do everything to not be as connected as I possibly could. Why would you not want to be at that highest frequency, plug in to the 220 instead of the 110, just to get that massive amount? And it came down, my queen and I, we joked about it all the time, and hopefully this doesn't offend anybody. We're going to laugh at this, but she grew up Catholic.
Yeah.
And was Catholic guilt.
Yeah.
And was constant Catholic guilt.
Yeah.
And I find when I'm working with people, most people are disconnected and stay disconnected because they cannot believe that they're God's favorite.
Yeah.
Or they cannot believe that they could connect based on all the things that they've done. And so the disconnect happens in body, in your purpose, your connections with God. It happens with your relationships, like you're talking with your kids. All of that shit just starts to steamroll. Cascading effect of all of these things comes down on you because you will not let yourself fucking connect.
Yeah. Yeah. So fucking important. And yeah, man, and that's what we do here, right? That's what we do. We go under the bus, so we find these things, and then we come here and share it on this fucking podcast or in other venues, programs such as becomeaking.com. That's the newest program here inside of Warrior that leads you to two paths: either the path of the King's Journey, which is a self-education and a self experience that involves us somehow. Remotely, and also in person and proximity. So you may want to check that out. And as well as our Empire journey, which is definitely a journey of proximity and a journey of connection and a journey of awareness and continuous awareness. So you'll find a video series about the 7 pitfalls. You can educate yourself on those. You'll find audios and videos and transcript of this particular podcast here at warriorweeknow.com, and you'll find us on iTunes. But really, if you would take a hunting gun, right, with the sniper thing, because you're a hunter and you've been doing that, and you have one shot, right? I know your wife took out that mass. How many pounds was that shit, man?
Oh, he's an 900 pound.
900-pound
bull elk.
Bull.
Yeah.
So your wife took that out with one shot. Amazing. Talk about science first, right? Because know where to fucking hit, and skills, and then the confidence and certainty to stand on top of a 900-pound beast, and then cut it open, and then fillet it, and then pack it up in backpacks, bring it to the car, and bring it back home in multiple trips, and then leave the rest there for animals, and there we go. And now we have 200 pounds of meat for the rest of the year. So if you were to take, let's say, the same gun that your wife took, and put the laser and looking through those lanes, you're aiming at the man right now, right? You're aiming at the man, and you're aiming at his heart, and you're going to shoot these words inside of his heart as an awakening message, right? What would that be?
Lose the shame and guilt and step up to connection. And connection is all around you. I mean, it comes back to what we were just talking about. Connection is all around you. Stop sedating it. Stop running away from it, and step into it.
Beautiful. So if this resonated with you, if this pressed into your heart, becomeaking.com is where you actually start your journey. If this has touched your heart and created vibration, and you're already on the path of discovering that, and you feel there's a man inside of your life, then go ahead and take the message and just fucking directly deliver it to this man in ways that maybe it's a phone call, maybe it's taking this link and sharing it with him, maybe it's, a text, maybe it's telling someone to tell someone else. Whatever the methodology is, man, like deliver the message to this man that you now identified that would resonate with the conversation here. Anything that we said here, anything. This is what we ask of you. So if you've been on this podcast for the last hour and listening to this, pay it forward. If it has given you anything, if there's a gift inside of it for you, give it away right away. And that's how it functions here. That's what our expectation is, and that's why we keep doing this kind of podcast. Really, not to become popular. I like this podcast won't be the most popular podcast, guarantee you. It's the kind of shit that is said here, but it's true. Like in this podcast, you won't hear a lie. No. Guaranteed, you won't hear one lie. So one thing we're proud of is lie-free podcast.
Nice, I like that.
So you'll find us more on warriorweeknow.com. I want to thank my guest, Dr. Todd, and final words.
I just want to thank you for the opportunity, and all that you guys bring to the table. It's changed my life, and I hope it continues. And some of these words today, like you said, resonate and continues to make an impact, because there's too many men suffering. There's too many children connected to these men that are suffering, and too many queens that are just yearning for men to step up. So step up, connect.
Beautiful words. And final words would be, hey, man, if you got the bullets, then go hunt them.
I love it.
We will see you next week. Take care.